Welcome back, comrades. This is MF Kraven. You're watching Less Than 10 Minute Reviews, a YouTube series where I take a look at games I think seem cool and give my thoughts to them in less than 10 minutes. Today, I take a look at Norco. Norco is a text-based point-and-click adventure game set in a dystopian Louisiana. Visit your childhood home full of trauma to bury your recently deceased mother, but upon arrival, fall into the surreal story of your small refinery town that awaits you. But can a point-and-click game in this day and age hold up to gaming juggernauts, or is this just not worth getting? Let's find out. Graphics, sound, and art style. Described under Steam page as Southern Gothic point-and-click, truly doesn't do this game justice. See, Norco has a pseudo-nightmare aesthetic that drew me in. I come from a small suburb in Los Angeles where the factories were prominent and the scenery haunts me to this day. To say it's surreal is an understatement. It's filled with scenes that seem oddly familiar, but with a je ne sais quoi quality to the art style. In a nutshell, though, the ambiance of Norco elevates the art style of this game to almost me recommending it to you guys on that basis alone. Gameplay. As aforementioned, Norco is a point-and-click adventure game, so expect to read a lot. There are a few instances of mini-games or its condensed fighting mechanic that offers very little other than remember a pattern, time clicks, and 2 short boat adventures. And yes, well, half of the genre of point-and-click relies heavily on the story. While it starts off very innocuous, it quickly turns sardonic, with religious undertones accompanying a strafe relationship in a family. It makes for a story that actually hit very close to home. Upon arrival, your brother Blake has gone missing. In the aftermath of your mother's death, and the hopes of finding him, you must follow a fugitive security android through the refineries, strip malls, and drainage ditches of suburban New Orleans. What comes in the journey to finding him, you'll never guess. Price, $14.99 USD. How many hours estimated? I finished the story in about 5 hours, and while it does feel tempting to go back and 100% it, I think one go around the story is enough for me. I'll elaborate further in my final thoughts on that. Is it playable on Steam Deck? While it is playable on Steam Deck, the combat and minigames are far more tedious on it than on PC. Plus, without Steam Cloud, I had started my adventure on Steam Deck originally, but when I tried it out on my laptop, none of the saved data was there. Luckily for me, I was only 20 minutes into the adventure, so I just stopped it and played it completely through on my laptop instead. For fear of me missing out on anything, any dialogue or anything clickable that I might have missed on my Steam Deck. Final thoughts. Wow, what a story. Norco is undoubtedly a tour de force. The story hit way too close to home, no pun intended. I also fled my family home and traveled across the country seeking a new home. My sibling is also a very coddled person with the same kind of tendencies, if you know what I mean, as Kay's brother. My mother, also terminally ill, and I have a strained relationship with her. My childhood home is a mausoleum of nightmares, but why am I opening up about all this? Simply said, Norco did a number on me, man. Clicking through Kay's home, seeing the unfolded laundry, pills on the counter, overall just the unfinished business her mother gave me a grim look into maybe my future. Bit of a TMI, but I just had to get that out there because this game really messed me up. The journey to finding your brother spirals almost immediately into the whimsy and overcomplicated. See, the narrative structure is approached in an artistic manner. You have a mind map that can catalog basically all the information you need from each character and every setting that you remember. The game is divided into 3 acts, however you are switched between the main character Kay and her terminally ill mother. That way you see the world in 2 very abstract perspectives, and while I can appreciate the effort, parts with the mother, I couldn't wait to get them over with. This is where my subjective opinion will drag this down a bit, but all the characters feel real. They feel gritty. I'm truly disgusted by some of them. The way they talk with such dissidence, malcontent, and disrespect. I found myself needing to take a brief pause and realizing I might need to talk to a therapist. But I'm joking, but I can't praise the writers of the story enough for conveying people in ways that seem real, seem genuine. I called it a tour de force, but that's an understatement of what went into the work in this story and the people that I've dealt with throughout my life and how they actually act. It was amazing. But going back to the plot, it's something I can't truly talk about without actually spoiling anything. In my opinion, it's a story that should be at least experienced once. There are a few funny interactions here and there, and I'll say this with no context. Hot dogs, Santa, Garrett. Overall, though, it is a beautiful game with a haunting, cyberpunk-esque aesthetic in the background. And the story has corporate espionage, terrorism, murder, drugs, and a hillbilly getting his ass kicked. I recommend Norco 100% to anyone who wants to indulge your brain in a little bit of literature. Maybe it could even take some fringe FPS players down a notch, but I do have to warn you, it's a nuanced story for admittedly pretentious people. Would I recommend Norco? Yeah, buy it now.
La 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 la.